Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. Today's reading is going to be how to step into your power. We've got 3 piles, pile 1, pile 2 and pile 3. So if you want to make your choice, and we'll get going.
La música de Harry Fraud.
Okay, right then, pile number 1, how to step into your power or how to make the best of yourselves. To me, this one seems quite obvious, which is nice for me, sort of, until I start rumbling or halfway through it, or straight away. You're coming across as the High Priestess with Virgo, so straight away that makes me think that you are a giver. You're somebody who is selfless, who works for other people and doesn't really expect much reward. You're the type of person who's probably quite mystical, probably quite into the occult in some way, or just very good at picking up what's going on around you. You could be very sensitive. I think that you're probably one of those people who do not like to have compliments because they make you feel uncomfortable. With the High Priestess here and with Virgo, you're the type of person who could possibly be very spiritual, but you do it in such a way that you don't just talk about it, you make sure that it fits into your life, and that you almost feel as if there's no point in having all these views and these thoughts and the research and practicing different types of yoga or tarot unless you're doing something practical with it. Very sort of mystical bend to you, I think. Right. What I picked up as I was dealing these cards is that I think that you're somebody who has a sense of inner worth, but you almost don't feel like it's accepted by everybody else. You have a quiet confidence about you, and it's almost as if you've earned that quiet confidence from generally being very perceptive and seeing how things happen around you, and then playing with pros and cons until you've developed yourself in some way. I think that you may possibly be quite introverted in some ways, and I think that you also possibly could feel as if you shouldn't be. You might be the type of person who's sitting in a group and everybody's chatting and laughing, and then there's the show-offy type of person, and you almost feel as if you should be doing the same as them, being louder, being more gregarious. And I wonder whether you have tried that recently. I don't know if you've been in a situation where somebody's hurt your feelings, and you know the sort of chin-up sort of line that you get, or in your case it could be join in more or do something that isn't quite in your nature. I don't know if this is ringing true, because I'll tell you why I'm saying it so you don't think I'm going totally mad. You've got the High Priestess and you've got Virgo here. So this speaks to me of 2 very feminine signs, and they're quite introverted. They are givers, they are selfless, and they like... My nan has these, and she just lives her life for other people but never asks for anything, and if you actually point it out to her, she's almost as if she feels as if she's been insulted, the fact that you've pointed it out. And when I'm looking at these 2, I'm also thinking of Keanu Reeves. When somebody's complimented him, I've seen it on TV, it's almost as if he's really uncomfortable. It's not almost, he is really uncomfortable. I think you're somebody who's introverted, not totally introverted, but I think that you generally value substance. And I think you may have tried to stretch out your antennae a little bit and be a little bit more extroverted, but I think that may not have worked as well as you would have hoped. And I think by being introverted, that you may almost feel as if at times you've been locked out of certain situations, and as if you should be something that you're not. The reason I'm saying that is you've got the 5 of Pentacles behind you, and you've got the 9 of Wands, which is quite defensive, and it's almost as if your self-worth has been stripped away at certain times in your life. So how to step into your power, even with just these few cards, to me speaks of somebody who needs to be proud of all their inner workings, everything that they do, everything that they sense, everything they put into action, every time they give to somebody or listen to somebody, because these cards are so receptive. You should just know that's what you're good at. You don't want everybody to be extroverted. There's a place for everyone, and I think that you need to be well aware that where you stand on that. Not the type of person who has to force themselves to say something if there's nothing to say. You're better to say nothing at all and be more receptive and be yourself than to be pushing forward some sort of view or opinion just to look like you have one. And this has a lovely, I don't think together you can get, those two, Pisces and Virgo together. I'm not particularly religious, but that makes me feel as if it's something religious. Not in the fact you are typically religious, but it's the kind of archetype that you would get for some sort of, I'm going to say religious leader, but I'm trying not to be over the top, but do you know what I mean? Somebody who is spiritual and who gives and who gives? Okay, right, okay. Shush now, me. Now, behind you, you've got these cards of feeling as if you're slightly shut out and slight problems with self-worth. And in front of you, you also have, now this is why it's quite difficult for me to talk about moving forward at the moment, because above you, what's coming into fruition in the near future, you've also got the Four of Pentacles, and that is basically keeping yourself to yourself. And you've got the Eight of Swords, which almost makes me feel as well there's some sort of lack of movement through anxiety or not knowing which path to take or how to release yourself from some sort of situation because you're not opening your eyes. But I'm going to leave this spread here, which does actually finish up here. I'm going to move on to here, because I think what I've picked up already from these cards is somebody who feels like they need to be more, and you don't. When I pulled over these two cards at the beginning, to me they're perfection already. But I get the general feeling, especially crossed with the Queen of Wands, that you feel it as if you need to be more. And I don't know if it's a particular situation that you're in at the moment that you feel that you possibly don't fit in. Maybe you're in a group who are really outgoing, or a party all night, and you just feel as if when you go home, although you've played the game and you've been out partying, you almost feel as if there's something quite lacking. But I think you probably have a very rich inner world, excuse me, and I think that you bring that out of yourself for other people in small practical ways that help other people. Right. Okay, I'm just looking at this pile down here. Just bear with me a moment. Okay, I think for you to move forward as a person, not so much in work or love, just you as your personality, I think that you don't need to be more extroverted, but you definitely need to be more decisive. I think for you, your personality is so giving and so open. I think you need boundaries, and when you say something, you need to actually mean it and be direct. Because these two, Virgo can be quite straightforward, Pisces not so much. So I do think that you possibly need to be a bit more direct with what you want out of people, so people actually know where they stand with you, rather than thinking, he or she's so lovely, I could possibly ask them to do this, and you don't give a direct answer, and actually inside yourself you don't want to do it, and then you become resentful. And as much, it sounds really harsh, but if with you not saying no, actually, it's almost your fault as equally that you're resentful as well as if somebody's pushed you into a situation you don't want to be in. And I also think as well that you need to be more assertive in the way that you actually start off situations. If there's something that you really want, like a job, or there's something that you want to start, like a business, I think it's up to you to grab yourself together and just do it. Do it for yourself. Start something fresh. I think you have so many skills here with the High Priestess. And it wouldn't surprise me if these skills were... Not many people have this combination of being very sort of mystical, very sort of aware of what's going on. And I don't mean in their immediate environment, but basically what's going on that nobody else can see. And with Virgo here, it's almost as if you could package that and put it into something. It's like a perception that not many people have. And I think if you can ground that and make it work for you, you could go really far. But I think what you need to do is that you need to stop thinking that you're not enough in your personality, and just know you're absolutely perfect the way you are, but that you only thing that you need to move forward is to be more direct and to be more assertive with yourself, and just start off something because you've got something to give that other people need. I know I'm going to go back to Keanu Reeves here, but I mean, how good looking was he as when he was young? I mean, he's still a really good looking man now. But when he's interviewed, it's almost as if he's really uncomfortable and doesn't seem to know how attractive he actually is to other people. And it's almost that feeling, I'm not saying you're Keanu Reeves, but it's that feeling I'm getting from you. There's this kindness and this awareness, but it's almost as if you feel as if you can sit in this slot that you've decided that you are this person, and you're going to accept it for too long. And what you really need to do is decide what you want to do, even if it's like the next year, the next 5 years, and start moving towards it, because I think there's more to you than you actually think. You just need to decide, you need to be decisive, you need to make the steps, even get a notebook, start making steps of where you want to go, and then follow them. And you've also got here the Ace of Pentacles. So I wonder whether there's something you've got in mind already. It could be studying, it could be a new job. But I think you've got the skills there, but I think you're too modest with yourself. Okay, I'm going to move on from that. I'm going to go into... I'm going to go into basically like a work situation. I think that you would work really well in a... What's the word? Partnership. I'm going to say couple. You're either attracted to somebody in work who could possibly be coming towards you, or I think could be both. You could work really well with this person. There might be somebody that you have in mind who you might be thinking of moving forward with in a work situation or a studying situation or some practical situation where you actually can make yourself some money, make yourself comfortable in some way. But I think for you to do this, you don't do anything that's been done before. You need to take a different route. The reason I'm saying this, if you've got the Seven of Swords at the bottom here for you in the Celtic cross, and also in your work situation here you've got the Seven of Swords, and in this work situation the rest of the cards are positive, but I do think that you need to find some way to tackle what you're doing in an original manner, something that hasn't been done before. And I know it's uncomfortable to do that, and you have to sort of put yourself out of your comfort zone. But I do think that's what you need to do. It's almost as if you have got skills and gifts that you're not really accepting yourself. And I think you need to actually make yourself feel uncomfortable for a bit. And then you actually will know who you are and see yourself as you really should be. I don't know if there's shyness or an introversion here, or just basically with these, I'm reading the cards here, I'm not, I don't know you, it's not going to apply to everybody, but if you do know anything about tarot, you look at these cards behind you: defensive, lack of self-worth, keeping yourself to yourself, and some sort of anxiety and not moving forward. So I'm just basically reading cards. Don't take this to heart. If it doesn't apply, it doesn't apply. But I think that you need to take a different tack and almost be a little bit hard on yourself in a really good way. As in, don't let yourself be too comfortable. Even if it's just for a week or a month, just do something slightly different. Almost as if surprise yourself every day. And if you've planned some sort of work project with somebody, try and think of new ideas. If there's somebody you admire, maybe a personality or somebody on TV or a musician, or I don't know what type of leaning you have, try and think what they would do. Try and put yourself in somebody else's shoes who has a different viewpoint and see if that can bring a bit new energy into whatever you're doing. Right, in relationships, I think you're quite passionate, and I think you're quite actually more feisty in relationships than you are with yourself, which is often the case. You often get quiet people who, when they're in partnerships or with somebody, their personality changes. So I do think that you may be slightly reserved emotionally at first, but I think deep down you're quite passionate, and I think you're actually quite determined. So I think that's where your strength really shows, is I don't think you're very shy once you get to know somebody, especially on a personal level. I don't think you need to come into your power in relationships. I think that you're quite aware who you are in relationships and to get what you want, because you've got the King of Wands and you've got the Chariot, and that's somebody who's quite determined, somebody who's quite feisty and fiery and knows how to bring together and anything to bring together different energies and take them forward in a way that they want to move. So I don't think that you need any guidance or help in any way whatsoever on that one. If there was something that anybody would say reading this, I would think it would be not to hold back your emotions at the beginning. This is the first card, and it's basically the same as this one here. And to me, it speaks of somebody who's closed off. Because I always think of this, you're grounded, you've got the Virgo here, but you're almost as if you've got the High Priestess here, which to me speaks of this here, and you've got the Virgo here, and I'm just wondering, you're grounded, but whether you cut off your heart and your intuition, I'm wondering with these cards, whether it's something that you do is you don't actually let yourself be who you are. I mean, situations surrounding Seven of Cups, and to me that's, with the High Priestess, it just talks imagination. I don't know whether your parents have told you. My dad used to do this to me. I used to sit in the summer holidays when I was in school with astrology books all around me, and that's why I would go for a run in the morning and go and do astrology all day. And he used to come downstairs or whatever and say, "What have you got those bloody stupid books out for?" I don't know if somebody's actually done that to you. Whether you've actually, you're very good with your intuition, you're very creative and you're very perceptive. And I wonder whether in your sort of career or the way that you want to move forward actually pulls together this creativity in almost a fantasy way, like film or books or English literature or somewhere. I don't know. See, here again, you've got hopes and fears, you've got the moon, which to me, intuition, it's dreaming, it's fantasizing, it's nebulous, it's almost like sifting through clouds to try and get little bits of information. And I'm wondering as well, with this behind you, with these two together, where that's where your lack of self-worth has come from. I'm not saying you have got lack of self-worth, but I'm wondering, with regard to this question, it's something that you don't feel is acceptable. Right, and your last card is the Ten of Swords. You need to you need to stop this. You need to stop questioning who you are. You need to bring out your creativity. You need to bring out your inner confidence. You need to show people exactly who you are without having to put a face on to please anybody. Because this to me speaks of somebody who can go into anything creative, which encompasses so many things. And then you could really make it work because you have the practicality and you also have the awareness and the intuition to do it. Okay, so the best way for you to come into your power is to draw a line over anything that has made you feel not worthy about yourself, that is not generally acceptable in everyday life. I mean, everybody, well, not everybody knows what it feels like, but there's just certain things you don't actually, I don't say, I would never tell anybody I do tarot on the internet. I just wouldn't say anything. But it's almost as if I'm telling you to do something that I won't do, but I do think that's part of this message here. You know, if you do something that's unusual or creative and you don't feel it's acceptable, you know, if you want to start a creative writing course, if you want to read runes, if you want to, anything that you want to do, whether it's film, photography, acting, just something that is not your normal path that you find when you apply to like a university, you know, your normal, I'm not going to say anything because I don't really know what everybody else does. It's just something that may be slightly different and not seen as general. And I think that's what you need to do. I think that you have a lot to offer in accepting yourself, finding some different way to show people who you are. And you could work in a partnership, which I think would work really well, but I think that you need to be assertive and direct and just know that you have, with the magician, you've got all these skills already inside you. You need to get them started and you need to be quite forceful with it. And I think you're so kind and so giving to other people that I think you forgot how to give to yourself a little bit. I think you're really good at Virgo here. I think you're really good at making small steps. I think that's what you need to do. If I'm saying this, if anything rings true to you that you think, I haven't actually put that into place yet, that's something I've been thinking about, just make a small step towards it and then start thinking how you can do it in a way that's not been done before. I don't know what I'm talking about here, but it's got to be something creative with the moon, the Seven of Cups, with the High Priestess. It's got to be something where you're almost sucking on and pulling down something into your life that is quite slippery, that people can't grasp. I'm not explaining that well. I'm hoping you know what I'm rambling on about. Okay, in relationships, I think you have a really good with this energy here. I think in relationships, I think that's probably where you know how to act like who you actually are. You've got your energy here and then you're quite assertive and you're quite channeled with it. So the way that you are actually in relationships would be really nice to bring into your personal life. It's almost as if you need somebody to bounce off, because you've got the Two of Cups here with the work, as in like advice for work, and then in your personal relationships you're actually quite assertive and quite direct and forceful. So I do think that you I wonder if you need somebody to bounce off a little bit more. Whether you work really well in a pair or whether you just need somebody to keep bouncing ideas off. And with this energy here, being so creative, I wonder whether you could be like an artist who works from home. And an artist encompasses so many different things, but almost as if you can cut yourself off and then you run out of original ideas, and because you're understimulated. I have quite a few friends who work from home in that sort of like making things, or sculpture and or illustration and things like that. And they do, I think you can, because you might enjoy being on your own. You might actually just need to keep pushing yourself outwards every now and then to gain some more inspiration. This might not be your full-time job. All this creativity and all this intuition may not be your full-time job. It may be something, I'm just generally getting the feeling here, it could be something sideline that you do. But I think for you to step into your power, it's something that you need to start to put an end to the fact that I'm not going to do it, and now to start moving with it, to do it in a way that's not been seen before. Right, okay, pile number one. I hope that hasn't been too bossy. But you have got the real ability to do something that's going to have a mark in some way, because you just, these two together are beautiful. But I do think you've either done a lot of soul searching or wondering what you need to do, and you might have even put your feelers out and tried to be somebody you're not, or followed something, because I'm thinking of doing things differently. You may have done something in a way that you think is the correct way to do it, but wasn't you. And now I think it's time to find an alternative way to do something to promote yourself in whatever area or whatever you want to do, even if it's part-time, which I get the feeling it possibly could be, and to cut off what you may have you thought you failed in before, and now to start something fresh. Because I think this sort of side line that you may be starting off is going to be open a lot of avenues for you. Right, pile number 1, I hope I have not been too bossy there, and I'm really sorry if I had, but the title almost makes you want to be bossy. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye. Sorry, camera cuts off after half an hour. I don't know whether that is true, and I don't know whether I've heard it, but when I see Vesta, that's what I think of. It's like an inner fire, and it's keeping things going, and it's almost as if you keep it inside yourself and you give it out to other people. It makes me think of Chiron in some sort of way to heal others. And you've got the Sacred Heart here as well, which to me is saying the same thing. I think you're somebody that makes other people feel good because of the warmth inside you. I think you almost are like medicine to others in the way that your personality is probably quite open and loving. I think people gravitate towards you when they feel slightly unearthed in some way. You're the type of person who I would guess from this, who if there's a shock in somebody's life, like even like a car accident or something happens at home that unnerves them, they may come towards you, because I think you give the impression of having this smooth, loving energy around you that you give off. Right, I'm going to have to go through these cards one at a time. How to step into your power. This card here, the basis of the situation, talks to me of somebody, this is you, who's actually looking out and almost wanting to know where to go next. It's almost like a searching card, especially with this pack here. And what's crossing this is the Two of Swords, which is like you don't really know where to go next. You don't know whether to go forward or backward, and it's almost as if it's causing you some sort of anxiety, as in you really feel as if you're ready to move forward, but you're almost stuck in your own head about it, or not knowing which direction to go in. Did I just say not knowing which direction? That's which or what together. I don't know whether you have subconsciously lit something inside yourself that you really do feel a strong yearning to begin something, because this is like subconscious, and you've got the Ace of Pentacles. To me, this speaks either you have actually started something practical, or it's just the feeling is rumbling inside you that you're ready for change, you're ready to get something moving, and you don't just want it to be a thought, you want it to actually be something concrete. I think that you have probably put quite a lot of thought into this. Looking at other cards here, hold on. I'm picking up the biggest change. I was going to say work because this is Ace of Pentacles. I'm wondering whether at the moment that you feel in work as if you are plodding and working steadily, but I'm thinking with change, and I don't know, I haven't really looked at these cards here, I think the biggest change that you're looking for may be relationships. But anyway, Ace of Pentacles talks to me of somebody who is ready for a practical new beginning, and the Queen of Swords, I think you've weighed it up quite a lot. You've weighed up the pros and cons, you've been quite intellectual about it, and you've been quite hard on yourself. I don't think you're somebody who in the past has lied to yourself about where you are and who you are. I think you're quite aware of who you are, and I think you're quite ready to make a move forward. But I also think there's some sort of, you're stuck. You're stuck. There's a lot of, I'm going to say inner workings. There's a lot of going inside yourself to see who you want to be. It's like inner searching. You may meditate, you may read books, but I think that at the moment you're somebody. I think that you are somebody who is actually how to come into your own power. I think that you know who you are. You've got the Sacred Heart here, you've got Vesta. I think you know your self-worth. I think that you've already been working on yourself, and I think you're quite ready to show everyone who you really are, because you've got the Queen of Wands here with the Hermit. The Hermit speaks to me of somebody who goes inside themselves and they actually try and work out who they are, where they want to be, and it's like a long process. It takes a long time, and I don't know whether you meditate or just generally in everyday life, when something happens you weigh up what's happened and then you almost squirrel it inside yourself to understand it, and then in the next scenario that comes up, everything works in patterns. You know how you want to act, and I think that you are beginning to realise who you really are and what part you play in this world. I think this is something, because you've got the Death at the end here as well. I think that you are well on your way into actually becoming who you feel you need to be. You're at a point now at the moment, because you've got the Two of Swords crossing and you've got the Two of Pentacles. You're almost in the process of playing with how to bring that forward into your own life, how to bring out who you want to be in your own life. You might feel as if things can't move yet. The situation surrounding is the Hangman, so it's almost as if you are a mixture of coming into your own, and almost you're on the precipice of knowing who you are, coming into your own and actually starting things off. And I think that everything is going to start moving for you pretty soon. But I don't mean moving to you in a sort of a tower moment, because these cards here with the Vesta and the Sacred Heart and with the Hermit and with the Hangman, it's almost as if you slide into a situation and then you start realising, this fits me, this is who I am. I wonder in the past whether you have been quite intellectual at the way you approach things, and your hopes and fears, especially with this Heart card here and this Vesta card here, whether you are beginning to use your emotions and your heart more than trying to intellectualize and plan out steps in your head. And I wonder whether that's going to be part of your rebirth. Right, okay, I'm basically talking to myself here, so I'm trying to get hold of this here before I move on to here. Okay, I wonder whether you have, in the way that you feel as if you've been developing as a person, whether something has happened that's really scarred you or hurt you in some way, but that has some way instigated you to make a big jump forward in your life in some way, to start something off. Maybe it's been forced upon you. Instances I'm thinking of, end of a relationship, being thrown out of school, that sort of situation, or just a friendship that's ended, or somebody that has said something that's hurt you, and it's almost as if that's made you jump out of some personality traits that you think belong to you, to set yourself on a track that's actually better for you. Because there's change here, there's internal work here, and there's like big movement, but it's almost as if you feel as if you've been tied to some other traits that don't actually belong to you. They're probably more intellectual, they're probably colder, but I think that you're moving into this energy here where you're going to be a little bit more outgoing. It's almost as if in astrology, like you're having progressions and you're moving into some sort, your sun could possibly be moving into a fire sign or a water sign, or probably both with different planets, and this is where you start changing and your personality starts flourishing and you start getting into touch with who you really are and what you have to give to everybody. Work-wise, I think in work, the general impression I'm getting in work is almost as if you're holding on. It's almost as if you're in an old energy where you are holding on and you're working. Everything's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's almost as if whatever transformation is happening inside you at the moment, it's not really part of your work. It's just part of who you are as a person. I don't know if you don't feel like you need to move on, whether you're quite happy, which, you know, it just shows. I'll tell you what I can see. You've got this is sort of protecting yourself, which is fine. It's holding on to your money. It could be saving for something. This makes me think saving as well, where you're basically, you've put something aside and you're just working on something. And then you've got the King of Swords here, which makes me think of you behind with the Queen of Swords. So that's being wise, being intelligent, no emotions, just basically moving forward with your studies or with your work or something that earns you money or makes you feel safe. And the internal work that you've done yourself may be separate from that, but then also may play a part in that. With relationships, and this confuses me slightly, I don't know whether your relationship, either you're on some, because you've got death here as well. I don't know whether the change actually is part of your relationships, because you've got a change in relationships. Either one's ended, because this could have quite a few different scenarios. Either a relationship has ended and there's some new offer come in and you're thinking about it, or whether with that offer, loving, emotional card slapped in between these two. This makes me, to me they're just sleeping or death, or it's basically not much happening. It's almost as if you could possibly almost be not moving forward in relationships, but not in a bad way. Because this is in the middle, I wonder whether somebody's offered you something, or you're thinking of somebody, or have somebody in mind that you would like to offer something to, but it's just not the right time, it's just not moving, and you're almost a bit stunted with this because you can't move forward. But it's not, I don't get a bad feeling from this. It's almost as if you're trapped from behind and trapped in front. Let me put a few extra cards on that, because that's quite unusual to have those two on either side. Or it's unusual to me anyway. Okay. I wonder whether in your relationships whether it has actually come to an end, and whether it has come to an end in an almost either a competitive sort of scenario, or a situation that's been quite negative in the fact that you don't understand what's happened, and one of you has moved out of the situation in a way that you've either felt unjust or a bit sly, or you've had to move out of a situation or play something underhand, in some underhand manner. Some situation, this is what sorry, I had to start shouting then. It's only because I'm trying to understand them. This is what I'm trying to understand. In your relationship cards at the end, you've got an ending, and you've got somebody sneaky. It's almost as if somebody's sneaked away, somebody feels good about it, but it's not grounded, it's unjust. And then you've got a practical card. It could be you've been in a relationship, or you've had the possibility of a relationship that has been almost whipped away from you in some way that's not felt very good, and you are either keeping yourself above water by using this inside yourself, but that you're not moving forward at the moment. But you are actually, if that is true, that is one scenario. If that is true, and this is you, this Knight of Cups, and you are personifying who you really are here with this warmth and this open heart, good on you. And you may not feel like you're moving forward, but I think with all this inner work and with these cards here, if that rings true in any way, if there's no movement in your relationships, but you actually feel like you've got a lot to give, and that could ring true. But if things have been quite insincere in the past with the relationship and you've kept your heart open, that's what I mean. That's what's really good. Okay, right, I'm going to sum this up. How can you come into your power? How can you be who you really want to be? Who you really are is somebody who is open and giving and loving. And I think that you basically make everybody else feel good. And I think it's almost, to me, it feels as if it's something you're quite wise. You're somebody who's loving and wise, and you use your emotions and your warmth to heal people. I think that you may have something moving at the moment to do with work, because the Ace of Pentacles, or you're ready to make a new practical beginning. I don't know actually with work. But I think in the past you may have used your intellect more than your heart. But I think that's your calling, is to actually not have emotional reactions to situations in the way that you start being really sort of volatile, but in a way that you become who you are in a relaxed, open, flowing manner. And I think this internal work that you have done on yourself with the Hermit here and the Hangman here, you may have pulled yourself out of life for a bit, which we all have, I suppose. And I think that you're actually coming into your own power on your own accord. You're ready to make the change. And your whole personality that has been tied to something that you don't actually feel that you need to hold on to anymore, and that's how you're changing. So I didn't put that really well. What I'm trying to say is you've got the Queen of Swords, which is quite intellectual. You're moving into this emotional giving energy, and it's your personality that is changing. You're letting go of what you've been tied to, who you feel you should have been, and you're moving into who you actually are. And it's going to be something that is fun, and you feel like life is worth living again. It's like when the excitement, and you think, you have a really crap day and you're thinking you can't imagine it being fun. I think that your life is going to make a huge turn around, and you're going to feel like who you actually should be without that much effort from you. Let's not put that devil card there. Nobody wants to see that there. In work, even though you've got this behind you, which confuses me, you've got like a new beginning, practical new big beginning. In work, I wonder whether that's not the area that you need to be growing in at the moment. I think your change is coming inside yourself, which may affect your work generally later on, but at the moment I don't think that's something that you need to concentrate on. Your relationships are slightly confusing here, and I think with regards to these cards here and with these cards here, to me, it speaks as if the question is how to step into your inner power, I think that out of all these cards, that's where you've shown yourself who you really are. Because it's almost as if you've had a hard time and you're stuck, but in the middle you've got the Knight of Cups. With these cards here, makes me think this is you. This is you learning through your relationships who you are and what you've got to give. So whatever the person or the people around you are doing, you are stuck, central and centered, and you are using these. So I think that's probably where you may have been learning these lessons here, and you may have had to work. It might have been quite painful. Right, okay, pile 2. These are really hard cards to read, to be honest. It's a really hard question. So how to step into your inner power. Nobody needs to tell you how to step into your inner power, because you've got it all inside you. You've worked on it. You're becoming it. And I think that every lesson, especially relationships, has put you that little bit closer to being this beautiful, heartfelt, giving person who is centered and grounded and doesn't need any advice whatsoever from anybody. You know who you are and you know where you're going. Right, pile number 2, I'm going to finish it there. Thank you so much for wading through that with me. And I hope to see you again. Bye. Okay, hi there, pile number 3. I'm going to go through this slowly because it's quite difficult to pull it all together. So I'm going to wade through it and hopefully you can wade through it with me. You're coming across as the first house and the 2 of Cups. So the question is how to step into your power. So I think that already you are somebody who is very good at relating to people. I think that you're somebody who's quite, I don't say forceful, but it's almost like, you know, like your favourite, I'm trying not to be insulting here, but your favourite auntie or your favourite uncle, and when you're a kid you go into like a party and they're the one that comes up and, you know, settles you in and gets you going and you feel like everything's okay. I think that you're forceful or assertive in that way, that you basically take people by the hand and you just make them feel as if they're equal, you make them feel as if they belong, and you almost set things out for them. You're the type of person who sees somebody who's wandering around, perhaps in a building, or you see somebody who's lost and then you go up to them and you basically, your warmth makes everybody feel good. The 2 of Cups as well speaks to me of like equality, that you're probably somebody who doesn't put yourself above people. And with the first house here, I don't think you make yourself seem less than people. I think that you have a good sense of self-worth and you expect people to meet you on that level as well. You don't want somebody showing off or being complete prat in front of you. You want somebody who's going to meet you as an equal, or you don't want somebody demeaning themselves either. You're assertive, you're giving, and you like equality. Right, let's go through these cards here. One word I was thinking when I was pulling the cards out is that I think you're brave. I think you're somebody who is very brave and who's able to make their own path. I think that you generally possibly could come from a good family situation, but I think your family may have almost taught you to take risks. Because you've got the first house here and you've got the Prince of Wands here, and I don't know what he's doing here. To me, it makes me think of somebody who's rock climbing. So I think, and you've got the 10 of Cups here, makes me think of a strong family background, but that has almost taught you to be fearless and to take what you want, but make sure with the 2 of Cups here that you're not actually stepping on people as you do it, which is a fantastic trait for people to have, because I think a lot of times we almost feel as if you can feel like you're ignored, and so you overassert yourself. So I think with you, your balance is perfect. I think that your power there is the fact that you see people as equal. It's like a playing ground that you come into and you have fun. You're brave and you're adventurous, but you take people with you. You don't step on people's heads to get what you want, which sometimes Aries can do. If you've got a lot of Aries in your chart, sometimes they can bowl people over and they're just left there thinking, what on earth was that? I'm not saying you've got a lot of Aries because this is more first house. So you could, I'm just giving a general sort of guideline to a personality type, but, an excess of it probably. Your cards here make me feel like you're somebody who has had a general good background, who feels good about all the steps that they have taken to get to where they are now. In the past, you've got the Prince of Cups, which makes me think that either you with this 10 of Cups were either very loved, if it wasn't by a parent, it could be a grandmother, or just general that feeling while growing up that you've got your confidence from your past. There must have been somebody around you, because you've got the 6 of Wands here, subconscious as well, that made you feel loved and made you feel worthwhile. And that's where you've got your assertiveness from and your ability to give on an equal level. Yeah, I do think that you're somebody who's not afraid to push boundaries because you have a real strength in who you are. So the question was how to step into your power. I think that you actually have begun life feeling quite powerful. And your power comes from your ability to feel emotionally connected and to feel grounded from your past, but also to feel as if you push yourself out of your comfort zone, even if you fall flat on your face, because of the strength you've had behind you, possibly with some sort of father figure, mother figure, or somebody parental, it could be brother or sister, just somebody that you feel as if you fall on your face, that somebody would pick you up, everything will be okay. Right, I'm going to leave these cards here. I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking. These cards here make me think of something that you are in the middle of making a big decision. So I'm going to leave them. I can't leave anything. But I don't know what it is until I start looking up here. So it's almost as if you have been weighing up factors with the Two of Wands, and this woman here looking as if she's thinking about what to do next. She's weighing up possibilities. The Judgment card here speaks to me, especially with these like confidence cards behind it, as if you're ready to make a move. And I think that when you do make a move, with what I've read from here to here, that you're not the type of person to muck around, and that you have a real good grounding that whatever finger you put into whatever pie, I think it will come out a cropper. So as in a good, I think it will come out well. So I've just seen this here then. Right, okay. Okay. You are still coming across as somebody who's really in charge of yourself. Now, this is what I've just come over. I'm looking at relationships. This part, can you see this? No, you can't. I moved them over. This is the cards I put on extra for relationships, and you have got the Three of Swords. And when I looked at the Three of Swords here for the situation surrounding you in the Celtic Cross, both Three of Swords are there. So I'm wondering whether you have been burnt in relationships, or I wonder whether you have been hurt in a relationship, maybe in the past, and whether that there could be something new starting now, but it's almost as if it's changed the way that you go into a relationship, because here you're quite assertive, you're quite balanced. And I think generally, because I've just seen a Temperance up here, I think you are a balanced, altogether person. And I think that you almost feel as if you have a good confidence. Well, you have got a good confidence. But I think in relationships, I wonder whether you are a bit turned into a tiptoer rather than the feisty beast that you are here. And I don't mean feisty beast as in loud, but just a good inner confidence. I'm wondering whether at the moment, because you've got the Prince of Cups, you've got the Six of Wands behind you, you've got the situation, sorry, for hopes and fears, you've got the Princess of Cups. I wonder whether somebody has come towards you recently and there's been some sort of emotional offer. I'm trying not to go too much down this route because it's not answering your question of how to step into your power. Oh, maybe it is answering your question. Okay. If there is somebody around you at the moment who is coming towards you with the Princess of Cups and the Prince of Cups, and you find attractive and you are wondering about, and it's a big step, because I think that out of everything, maybe it's your emotions and your relationships that make you feel vulnerable. I think this is that's not very good English, this is what's going to bring you into your power, is how you deal with this. At the end, you've got Temperance here. You've got almost as if things are being churned up from the past, and you've got you trying to think about it. And out of all the piles here, it's your relationship one that I think is going to help you progress the most. I think that you possibly have been hurt because you've got the Two of Swords here, and you've got, for your relationships, you've got almost like you've stopped working with your heart and you've started working with your head too much. Sorry, camera keeps cutting off after half an hour, so I must have been talking for an hour. You need to have somebody in your life who loves you for exactly who you are now, because with this grounding and this ability to love and this general open-hearted assertiveness that you have around you and your love of life, you deserve to be loved to the fullest, but you need to let them know that. And I think with you've got temperance at the end here, that you have basically realised that in yourself, and you feel that confidence, you feel that balance, you know who you are. Right, I'm going to leave relationships now. Yeah, I think you are actually a good combination of moving into your own power by actually telling people what you want, who you are, and how you want things to move for you. I think that you do it in a very mature, grounded fashion. So whatever you want in life, I think that you have had the grounding in your past, and you've got the balance now around you. Balance Two of Cups, balance Temperance, and you've got the Eight of Wands, you've got the Queen of Pentacles, and it's almost as if you're in a place now, and I almost think how to move into your power. I don't think you need to. I think you're there. I think you're quite a powerful person in the best possible way already. The only way that I think you need to make steps, I think that your vulnerability lies in relationships. I think the way that you probably need to move to make steps is to act how you do in every way, in everyday life, in every situation. You now need to bring that into relationships and expect to be treated the same in relationships as you do everywhere else. Because I think you've got that sussed. But I wonder whether you're not as assertive in relationships. I wonder whether that's your soft spot or your Achilles heel. Okay, right, I'm going to move on to the last thing, and I was going to talk about work. This is the pile here for work, but I've basically got sidetracked with relationships because I do think that is probably what is probably, I say imperative then. I don't know what I'm trying to say. For work, you've got the Sun and the Star, and you've got the Seven of Wands. So, to be honest, I don't think the way that you approach work or the way that you think about work actually needs much to be said about it, because to me this speaks of somebody who's confident, who can see where they want to be and gives everything and is actually feeling quite optimistic anyway. I do think you've got challenges in your path, but these cards here override any of that. This is a feeling of childlike optimism, it's a feeling of fun, it's a feeling of grabbing opportunities. The Star to me, these two together are beautiful. The Star to me talks of almost as if everything falls into your lap, everything you've wished and hoped for comes into being. You could work in some sort of progressive field, you could work with children, or you could basically marry both together. You could be creative. Yeah, that's quite a creative pairing there. You could be creative in some way that you look forward. So, you could be... you could work in some field that needs to know what's happening next. And, like a DJ goes around and tries to find music that's not been released yet. So, that sort of area where you are dipping your toes into things that aren't really part of the mainstream yet. Because this is like Aquarius card of hopes. And with this, it's almost as if it's fun. It could be something like fashion, it could be fashion where you're trying to look ahead and find trends and bring them back, but make it fun. You could work with kids, you could just be you could work in astrology, you could work in something occult, you could work with media, you could work with the internet in some way. So I don't really think I need to talk. I need to explain to you how to step into your power in work. I don't think that you need any guidance or anything whatsoever about you as a person. I think that your Achilles heel is how to step into your power in relationships, close relationships. I don't think you have. I do think. Excuse me. I do think you have a really good self-worth, but I think when it comes to one-to-one relationships, I wonder whether that's where you almost hit a wall in some way, and it almost puts you on your back foot. But I don't think you need to be whatsoever, because you've got the Two of Cups. I think you're really good at relating to people. I think a lot of people find you attractive. It's the first house and the Two of Cups. You're the type of person that when you're talking to somebody and you're being very friendly, and then it comes back after that, this person's got a real big crush on you, and you thought, I'm only talking to them. Because the end, your temperance here is your balance, and even with your balance here, you've got it almost as if it makes a heart shape. I think people fall in love with you very easily. And I think you accept that without being too modest, because I think that you generally have a good self-worth. But I'm going to finish here because I am beginning to talk too much. I do think that you could have been hurt in relationships. So how to step into your power is to use what you have already. You are absolutely perfect as you are at this very moment, because you have a self-worth, a grounding and an ability to relate that also you need to be able to use, not just with everybody in a general sense, but with yourself in one-to-one relationships. You need to expect the best, even if you have been hurt in the past. Don't let that make you feel too vulnerable, because that's just what happens. That is life. Unfortunately, it's not pleasant, but that's why we go into relationships, because they are great lessons for us. Because as you get older, that's how you find out who you are. When you're young, it's your parents. When you're in your teens, it's your friends. And then as you hopefully mature, I'm still waiting, it's your relationships. And that's probably where you almost, that's the bit where you tiptoe a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to finish there. Good luck, and I hope that I haven't talked too much to you. And thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you again. Bye.